let me, in the script of this drama, I have been playing one role till now. Now I'll get into the other role of being a speaker. So let me take up that role of a speaker. I titled my talk as Jogin and other non-classical traditions of Devadasi, uh, ideal and real. Let me just start by sharing anecdotally how I entered this area in my research and study. Those were the days, early 90s, 91, 92 time, even earlier to that, 87, 88 time, when I was interested in working on, there was a question in the question and answer box about whether males are dedicated as Devadasis. So that was the topic that interested me. I was born and brought up in my childhood in the borders of Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. In that area, there used to be people who used to come in front of houses begging with a basket in their hand. They were males dressed as women, and I did not know who they were, why they were coming in front of houses for that kind of begging. And then later, by interacting with senior people in the locality, I came to know that these people were dedicated to a goddess called Yellamma. And in that area, actually, Yellamma is now known all around the internet and general understanding, but people do not know about another goddess called Uligamma. Yellamma and Uligamma are a pair there in that area. So these people were dedicated to Uligamma also, and there was this Yellamma tradition, and these people were dedicated. When I got trained in cultural anthropology and cultural studies, I wanted to take up topics which were creating curiosity in me from the childhood. For example, I took up the study of shepherd community and their ritual activities, puja activities through Gauravas. In that area, the shepherd community was Kuruba. I took up that because that was, as a child, that was a frightening image for me. So similar thing was there with this kind of males dedicated to the goddess also, males in sari with kumkum and turmeric on their face, with a basket in their hand, rice being given as alms to them and all that. So when I actually took up the field work, I started doing research, I came to know that these people were called Jogappas. That made me curious. What is this Jogappa? Jog and Appa. And then I interviewed them through my interaction with them. They told me that actually we are Jogins. That again created another intrigue. Jogins are women. How can you be that? They said actually we are turning into women, and that is how we are Jogins. Because we are males, we are given a double name, Jogin plus Appa, Jogappa. We are called Jogappas. And then I started collecting information about how they actually become Jogappas. They told me that we are married to Yellamma, and I attended those rituals. I collected information about how they get married to Yellamma, and then I came to know that most of them were dedicated as a vow. Their parents take a vow. And one of the narrations to me was that this particular person was a male and not yet dedicated to Yellamma. He was living his own life, went to college, he was trying to become a factory laborer and everything. But all of a sudden, this boy started getting possessed by Yellamma. And Yellama started speaking through his voice and was reminding to the parents of the family that they took a vow that they would dedicate this boy to Yellama. Not exactly this boy, they promised to the deity Yellama that they would dedicate one of the male boys in the family to the deity. And then he himself was asking to dedicate himself to Yellamma, but it was spoken as though Yellamma was speaking through his voice. He was saying, "You dedicate this boy to me." And gradually, when these possession events repeatedly were occurring to him and his health was appearing to be deteriorating, then the family thought that they have to give up and allow him to go. And he went all the way all alone to the Yellama temple up in the hills, up in the hilly area, in a very lonely forest area in the Yellama temple, and attended the dedication ritual all by himself. Now, all by herself, we should say, because now he has become a woman and he became a Jogin, and now Jogappa. And he joined a very big team of such Jogappas who were already there. All these people are wandering people. They don't live with their family anymore. When they go back to their families, the family doesn't allow them inside the house. Even if they want to feed them, they feed on the platform outside the house, uh, and they just greet them and go away. Otherwise, all their life is a wandering life. They go around singing songs and all. During the field work, I saw them dancing, singing in the railway platforms, in front of temples, on the stage to the temples, all kinds of songs, including Purandaradasa lyrics. Bhagyada Lakshmi Barama also was part of their song repertoire, and they used to sing all kinds of songs, dance, and go around. But for them, the journey, annual journey, used to mainly get focused at Saundatti, one of the main Yellama shrines in Karnataka. But they used to have Kolhapur in Maharashtra also as one of their shrines to visit, and Tulja Bhavani of Maharashtra also. They used to go around and keep their life dancing and all that. Then, when I came to know that this is part of Jogin tradition, I wanted to understand what Jogin tradition itself is, why these males are getting into Jogin tradition. So, for that purpose, I started interviewing Jogins themselves. And then I came to know that that was a dangerous area for research because already governmental regulations were there banning Jogin tradition, and there were NGOs working to rescue Jogins from the Jogin tradition. And if you are actually meeting these people, actually there were already issues with meeting transvestite Jogarpas also. So people were threatening me that these people are mantric people, they have mantric powers, tantric powers, please don't go to them and all that. And again, another risky area that I'm meeting Jogins and trying to know about them. But after some years, I moved from that place for my studies and livelihood to Hyderabad, which is part of Telangana. By that time, I was already uh, 20, 19, 20 years old. And then I started studying the Jogin tradition and the male Jogins of Telangana also. Here I understand that these people are not wandering people. They live with their families. The Yellamma temple, biggest Yellamma shrine in Hyderabad is Balkampet Yellamma. I used to go there. I used to watch these people how they live. Some of them live alone, but most of them live with their families. And when I attend the Bonalu too, now it is the season, Bonalu season. Bonalu is happening in Hyderabad and Secunderabad now. During the Bonalu festival, I see in the processions of the Devi, Ammavaru, Amma processions, the paraphernalia, the festivity, the celebrative mood comes from the drums, the neem leaves in the hand, and the turmeric, and all the fragrance, and all that. But more than that, what is important is that you have to have a jogi. And you, if there is a Jogappa available there, even Jogappa participates in it. And they use another word called Sivasatulolu. These Sivasatulolu are the people who professionally get possessed. Their occupation, their lifestyle itself is to get possessed. So they form part of the procession. The Shivasatulolu also get possessed with the drum beat, which is a typical folk drumming style. It's not classical at all. And the neem leaves are shaken, turmeric and the smell and the fragrance, the entire folk cultural, folk ritual environment, and they get possessed. And when you see the people who are carrying the bonum parts on their head also, even those women who are general women of families, they too get possessed with their parts on their head. And there is a frenzy all over in the procession. There is a frenzy of dance, 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 but it is a dance of possessed. It's a possessed dance. And this dance includes the dance of the Potaraju also. Potaraju is a clear male person, no binary gender aspects in it. He actually even shows off his masculinity. He holds whips in hands and has a very ferocious look. He is considered to be the brother of the goddess, making way for the goddess in the procession. And there is his dance also. Uh, this dance cannot be considered to be having abhinaya, hastamudras, or karanas, or anything. It is pure folk kind of frenzy dance of spirit possession. And this is actually considered to be dance only. People, general public, also participate in the folk drumming, dancing rituals for the folk festival of Bonalu. And I observed this in so many places. And then during my other studies, I came to know that it is all over India. It's a pan-Indian culture. In Bengal, they call it Bhor. In Rajasthan, they give some other name. So Matajis, instead of Ammavaru, Ammoru, in South India, they have Matajis and Moncho Devi in Bengal and all that. So this spirit possession is a culture. Then there used to be these urban modern questions to me. What is this spirit possession? Do they do it because they go mad? Is it lunacy? Or some people used to say it is pretension. Actually, they are pretending because they are considering that to be pretension because devotees all around gather around, crowd around this spirit possessed person and ask questions of prediction, fortune telling, and they ask them what is going to happen. And the people started thinking that because these people are getting the role of the goddess herself, they are pretending to be doing this out of their interest for money or out of their interest for getting that higher status of being able to fortune telling and all that. So during my field works, once it so happened that most of the times my fieldworks used to be along with my American counterparts and all that. So they were English speaking people. I was in the fieldwork in the Golconda Crossroads area of Hyderabad. We were doing fieldwork and we were trying. I was trying to translate from English to Telugu and backwards during the fieldwork. But all of a sudden, I heard an English talk from a Jogin. Then I thought, okay, Jogin knows English. Then I need not translate. Then I went and asked her, what's your name? She said, Jyoti. And I asked her, how come you are able to speak English, good English? She said, I'm from Bluebirds High School. All my studies were from Bluebirds High School, and then I went to college, St. Francis, and now I am a Jogin. I said, wow, okay, fine, wonderful. So now we have a different picture. All these years, the formula, the stereotype is that Jogins are created out of poor people, out of poverty, and this is because they are illiterate, uneducated people. Out of their lack of education, they are turning into yogis. But now you are here. You are an English knowing and convent educated girl, and you are a yogi. Then I started interacting with her. Then she said, oh, it is time now. My clients are going to come and I have to give them time. Then I said, what clients? What are they going to do with you? Then she said, on every Tuesday, clients come to me, answer their questions of fortune telling, prediction, and all that. Then I said, why does it happen to you? What is happening to you? Then she started saying that I get possessed at the time. Then I said, what is this possession? Though I had my own way of looking at possession, but I wanted to hear from the horse's mouth. I asked her, what's happening to you? For the first time, a revealing word she used was, it is bhakti. It is bhakti, devotion. Wow, that was a changing moment in my cultural understanding of spirit possession. Then I, with some clues that she provided to me, I began to realize that actually in rasa theory, we talk about tadatmya of the audience with the character, and because of tadatmya, some emotional responses like sattvika responses, which we call sattvika bhavas, the tears in the eyes and all those things happen. And then we come to Bhakti Rasa, and there are theories of Bhakti Rasa from Madhusudana Saraswati in his Bhakti Rasayana, and Rupa Goswami has his own Bhakti Rasa theory in Ujjvala Nilamani and Haribhakta Rasamrita Sindhu. There we have this distinction of general rasas and Bhakti Rasa. But in both these, what we see is that the commonality is a tadatmya. But in general rasas, Laukika rasas, the tadatmya of the audience is with a character in the story, whereas in the bhakti rasa, the tadatmya of the sadhaka is with the deity. And the theorist, the Madhusudana Saraswati, or people like Rupa Goswami, they are saying that whereas the other bhakti rasa, other rasas are Brahmananda Sahodara, this rasa called Bhakti Rasa is Brahmananda itself. So I started linking these ideas and started thinking that this, what they are calling spirit possession, is a tadatmya. And this tadatmya of the sadhaka, of the Jogin or Sivasatulolu or the bonum part carrying woman, they are actually getting identified completely with the goddess, with the mother goddess. And then it goes to such an extent of identification that they completely become the goddess. And goddess speaks through them. That is spirit possession. So then I began to realize that, okay, now I have two kinds of bhakti, folk bhakti and classical bhakti. It is, folk bhakti is spirit possession. In the story of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's disciplinary tutelage to Swami Vivekananda, when Swami Vivekananda was just still Narendranath Datta, it is mentioned that Narendranath Datta was visiting Kali temple, Dakshineshwar temple, and he was able to see the spirit possessed people all around who were considered to be disciples of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa only. And this Narendranath Datta was asking Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Guruji, you taught all these people how to swing like that, but you did not teach me how to swing. I'm not swinging. When I'm sitting in my meditation, only tears are coming. I'm just getting tears, but I'm still, stand still. Then in the story, as per the story, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa answered Narendranath Dutt, saying that these are two ways of responding to the ecstasy that you get because of the sadhana. You are responding in a very classical way. They are responding in a folk way. It is their ecstasy, their way of showing ecstasy. They are getting ecstatic, and their ecstasy is showing in the form of their possessed response. And when I visit Amrita University and talk to the brahmacharinis and brahmacharis of Amma cult there, they actually, because these are all modern educated people, they use both the words. They say, oh, this is the place where Amma was getting the bhava. And then they say, oh, okay, see, what you call spirit possession, right? In the common language, in common parlance, what is called as spirit possession, that was used to, that was happening with Amma. And in a very classical vocabulary, we say that she was getting into bhava at that time. So this bhava, bhakti, all this way of looking at a different kind of folk response. Now that helped me to understand Basava Purana of Palkurke Somanatha, 12th century book of Shaivite, Veerashaivite literature, and Panditaradhya Charitra, in which he talks about all the folk cultural aspects of that time, 12th century, are vividly explained by Palkurke Somanatha in his 12th century book about Yakshaganas, how they were taking place, all folk rituals or folk games, everything was happening in Panditaradhya Charitra. In detail, he explains. Then I started connecting that what Veerashaiva in 12th century was doing was, it was organizing folk bhakti. And it was mentioning this folk bhakti in the form of the narratives of Basava Purana. It was theorizing folk bhakti in the form of Shiva Tattva Saram. It was theorizing it in the form of Brahma Sutra Bhashya by Palkurke Somanatha. Somanatha Bhashya was being written by that time in 12th century. So we are able to see that we here in 20th century or 21st century, we have all the doubts, but they never had any doubts. They were able to connect these two kinds of ecstatic response of sadhana and yoga in the form of folk bhakti. So Jyoti, when she answered that her response was bhakti, she made my day, and that was the turning point. And I started realizing that all these actual rituals of spirit possession and all that were happening to them, and this dedication of a woman or a male turned woman to the goddess was happening because of such a bhakti of these people. And most of the people I interviewed, most of the Jogins I interviewed also, they were saying, uh, maybe it was just incidental that I met only such people. They told me that they were not forced into Jogin. They said that they were bhaktas. They, out of their bhakti, they chose the life of Jogin. And when I used to encounter these Jogins in jatras, temple cart rituals, ratha rituals, rathotsavas, and all that also, they were very freely, enjoyingly, celebratively dancing as part of the procession. And I saw them to be highly knowledgeable in the folk aspects of yoga also. Actually, they very deeply used to discuss the symbolic aspects of the mystic songs of yoga from Brahmangaru and Brahmangaru's tradition, and all those mystic yogis. And they had deep knowledge of those aspects also. When others were singing those songs, they were able to participate in those discussions about what happens in pranayama, what happens at Anahata chakra, which chakras are getting activated, what is Kundalini, all these things in a very deep way they were able to discuss. So now I started realizing that the NGO activity and the governmental activity of rescuing women from the Jogin tradition and the world that I'm able to see here are two different worlds. That is why I titled my talk as Ideal and Real. Uh, for me, what I started understanding about how the Jogin tradition develops out of a folk spirituality, folk bhakti, folk devotion, and folk inward practice and emotional response, folk emotional response to the deity, that was behind the ideal of developing development of evolution of what people call Jogin in some areas, Basvi in some other areas, Matangi in some other areas, and in Nepal they use the word Dyoki. Probably it is a different form of Devaki, or I don't know, but the spelling is Deuki in Nepal. They use the word Deuki. All these are, we can say, folk versions. And am I right in using the word Devadasi for this tradition? Actually, if you go to Maharashtra and Karnataka, even today, or probably today only, they are using the word Devdasi only. And there are pathetic stories of women getting forced into prostitution in the name of Jogin. There are pathetic stories of sexual exploitation of women. So, in those stories, if you watch them, they say, "Oh, I don't want to become Devdasi. This Devdasi is being dumped on me. I'm completely getting forced into this Devdasi life. We are poor women. Our poverty is being used, exploited by the landlords of the place and other family members. Actually, it is a different pretext for forced prostitution and all that." During those conversations, they use the word Devdasi only. I hate this Devdasi tradition is the word they use. So that probably is the reality with which the governmental activities and the NGO activities of rescuing women from Jogin tradition are happening. And when I go to places like Saundati and watch what is happening there with regard to my focus topic, transvestite yoga paths, that is the males turning into yogins and all that also. The general contemporarily educated, modern educated Hindus, when they come to that temple, they start saying all awkward things happen, all very dirty things happen inside the temple. During this time, I don't want to go to Saundatti at all awkward things happen there. But when I go to see what those awkward things are, it is actually a frenzy of spirit possession that is happening. But side by side, at Saundatti itself, there are places where dedication of women as yogins is taking place, and that is actually leading to forced prostitution also. The women are being taken into prostitution places in Mumbai and other places also. So when you watch this whole phenomena, then you begin to realize that a tradition which was not originally meant for forced prostitution is gradually drifting into an aberration, but aberrations are exceptions, but exceptions become bigger in size. They become the rule, and the original becomes the exception. So, here in the case of Jogin tradition, the original ideal has become an exception, and the the exceptions have become a rule now. They, in size, in quantity, in proportion, that forced prostitution and other aberrations have now become the norm of the day. And to know that this was not the ideal, this was not the original, you have to meet people who keep saying, for example, there was a woman who was the sister of my housemaid at Hyderabad. She was a very senior Jogin. She was a senior woman. I was asking her about these impressions. from NGOs and government. She was very clearly saying, "Sir, actually these are all coming up because of people losing their ability not to be non-sensualist, celibate. But people like me, we are continuing in our non-sensualist ascetic orientation to be true to the Jogin tradition. But what you are able to see is only an aberration." And I went on getting this kind of impression from many other such yogis. Jyoti herself, or Aruna, another woman I encountered in Anastalipuram area. She is an IT professional actually, Aruna, for that matter. So all these, they are all uh, articulating the ideal part and are saying that this was supposed to be an ascetic tradition, but the aberrations are becoming the norm of the day. That is why these NGO activities and all these activities are coming up. And in my opinion, wherever an exploitation is happening, rescuing is very important. It has to be done. But in that name, the original ideal is getting maligned. Even that has to be countered. And an ambivalent activity of both rescuing women from exploitation and preserving the ideal, sacred, original, both have to go side by side, is my opinion. Thank you. Thank you.